Hey guys, I wanted to just speak for a minute about Bill Wallace of China. Chapter 3 of our book was dedicated to him. He's described as a Jesus-intoxicated man. The verse that the author used was Philippians 1:21, "For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Very descriptive of this man, Bill Wallace. His life can be divided into really three periods. The first 17 years, the next 10, and the last roughly 15 years of his life. He was born in 1908 to the son of a medical doctor, and certainly the Lord used that family and his father to impress strongly upon his life, his leadership and his will. Bill Wallace, when he's 17 years old, he loved cars, he loved motorcycles, and he's out in his garage, and he has this strong impression in his heart. What does God want to do with my life? Not what am I going to do? What career should I follow? But what does God want me to do? And with the New Testament in his hand, he kneels on the ground and gives himself to be a medical missionary. He believes that's what God's calling him to do. In the next 10 years of his life, he spends in preparation, his college and his medical school and internship preparation, and then as a resident physician at the Knoxville General Hospital in Tennessee. And so he writes a letter, now about 10 years after that. He writes a letter to the Foreign Mission Board saying, I'm not a gifted teacher, I'm not a preacher, but I believe that God could use me as a medical missionary, my gifts in medicine, to share the gospel. Simultaneous with that, a physician from Stout Hospital in Wuchao, China, also writes a letter to the Foreign Mission Board saying, we need a surgeon. We desperately need a surgeon. And these letters arrive almost simultaneously. And God orchestrates this man who's willing to go anywhere to China. So for the next 15 years of his life, he's going to be in China. It's 10 years to the day, July the 25th, 1935, after that garage commitment, when he is appointed by the Foreign Mission Board to go to China. And he's there in a very turbulent time for the nation. The Japanese invasion, World War II, the communist takeover that took place. And there were three things that really stood out to me from this book. One is his humble and sacrificial service. This man was willing to do anything. He was going to stay there. People told him to leave. It's not safe. And he said, God brought me here. Not a person, but a God brought me here. He's going to stay. And he's willing to be there. They find him at a time when people are hurting physically. One of the nurses got illness, and he gives his portion of rice to this nurse to be taken care of and provided for. And someone finds him at the cook tent eating burned grains of rice stuck to the cook stove or even falling on the ground. That's how he's surviving. And he's embarrassed when he's caught. This guy is humble. They said about him, you want to find Bill Wallace in the hospital? Go look at the most hurting person. That's where you're going to find him. That was the nature of this man. He's gravitated to serve in a humble way. The second thing we learned about him, he truly was a Jesus-intoxicated man. You know, it impacted him. He stayed single. A young woman that he had known and courted some said about him, you know, he could never marry because he was married to his work. You know, God's call upon his life. And so this commitment that he had. A third thing about him was that the Chinese said he lived like they did. Man, I want that to be true of my life. That the people I relate to and work with in Taiwan and across East Asia would know that I want to really partner with them. I want to go through things they go through. I want to live as they live. It's easy for a missionary to jump ship. But Bill Wallace stayed through the tough time. A lot of people would say his death was tragic because he died at age 43. But the book notes that countless people were called and still have been called. And his remains have extended all over this world because of his sacrificial service. It reminds me of what Jesus said in John chapter 12. He said, unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it, while anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. I want that to be characteristic of my life, as I said a minute ago, to live as the people, being willing to sacrifice and even to die for the sake of the gospel going to our people. God bless you all. I'm praying for you, and have a great discussion about this book. Blessings.